Welcome to the Fantasy Rat, where we dig through the trash, dodge the traps, and sniff out fantasy gold. Draft dirty, win filthy, let's get ratty. Welcoming in my buddy here, Rico, into the studio. He's fresh here from down south, down there. What are you, Puerto Rico, Dominican, something like that. So we're welcoming him in. He's our guest today. So, Rico, I kick my first question off to everybody. Are you keeping anybody, or do you care to share? What's your thoughts on your team and
Well,
pre-draft?
the one guy I wanted to keep was Cortland Sutton.
Mm.
But last year, at the end of the season, I had a last-minute trade, and it was to avoid being the Chapo last place.
So what's
And it worked out. So I'm not keeping anybody.
So the term the Chapo, what exactly does that mean?
Well, the loser last year, Shapiro, he got last place. So the name of our loser trophy is the Chapo.
Wow, what a beautiful name! But you don't want to own her. So, okay. And one more question for you. So the early projections and your first half of last year led you to an 0-7 start, which puts you in dead last, not even anybody close to you. How do you avoid a slow start? Because you came back in the last 7 games, you were 4-3. You managed to scratch out a positive record, but man, ugly start. What happened? How do we change that?
Well, I neglected to get good running backs too late, and that was the problem. And I actually wasn't first on the waiver wire the first 7 weeks. I tried to get a running back, and the one guy that was also 0-6 the first 6 games took running back every single week for those 6 weeks to prevent me from getting a running back, and proceeded to attempt to just screw me on trades. So
I gotcha. So did that person end up better than you?
So they did. However, we did have a good trade at the end of the season. He is not the worst person to trade with in this league by far.
Okay. All right. Hot. Okay. I like it. I like it. So we're going to dive right in. So segment 1 here, we've got biggest busts of the year. These are hot, stinky, disgusting busts. I'd like you to kick us off. Who you got? Who is top of your list for busts?
Honestly, thinking about this, it's not very hard to think. One name really comes to mind, and that's DK Metcalf. A lot of people are excited about this guy joining the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers at QB. I don't trust in Aaron Rodgers after that horrible year with the Jets. Last year.
So true.
And DK Metcalf honestly underperformed last year. They had him and JSN, and the offense was just mediocre at best. And, he's a big body. And, when Pittsburgh plays the Ravens, who have the worst secondary in the league, he might have a few targets, have a big game, but consistency is not going to be there.
Listen, consistency's been DK's problem for a long time, in my opinion. I mean, you look at any of his past seasons, he has huge weeks, and then he'll drop a dud, and then he'll smash somebody's face in the ground and get thrown out of the game. So you get a little bit of everything.
Yep.
And I do like your take on Aaron Rodgers, dude. He's over the hill. It's over. This is his last ride. He's riding out into the sunset with Tomlin, which Tomlin, he might be riding out into the sunset too. Who knows? He's been one step above mediocre for so long. But amazing coach. Just, I wonder if it's kind of the pieces he's had to work with. But when I think about who Aaron Rodgers likes as a wide receiver, Devontae Adams is like his best friend.
Route
runner. And guess what? DK is just you don't know where he's going to go. You just throw it up and he's going to go get it.
And that just furthers this point. Like, the Steelers were like in the bottom third in the league on their offensive line. I mean, coming in with a immobile Aaron Rodgers in a wheelchair, basically, that's not going to bode well. DK's got to get down the field. There's not going to be time.
Oh my gosh. Well, the funny part is, to build on your bust, I have another bust player who is still with Seattle, and that's Kenneth Walker.
Oh,
another guy with just, I guess it's just maybe a Seattle thing where it's like, you know what? We're going to put up 20 this week, and then we're going to come back and we're not going to do anything. And then, he's hurt all the time. He hasn't had a complete season. I do think Charbonnet, they're talking about ramping him up. So if they start ramping him up, that means he going down.
Tell you what, towards the end of the year last year, when Walker was hurt and Charbonnet was in, he put up some numbers.
Oh my gosh.
And he is a threat out of the backfield on those little screen passes. I like that pick.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really
No,
do.
he's a good late draft guy. If you do draft Kenneth Walker, you got to get Charbonnet as a handcuff because the risk is high and you got to draft him early. I mean, he's not somebody you can get in the 5th, 6th round. I mean, he's going in the first 4 rounds. So,
and credit to who had Kenneth Walker last year. I think it was Shapiro at the end of the year. He had Charbonnet as well. So he did have the handcuff.
He did handcuff it.
That is key. I agree with that.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, too expensive for my taste. I won't be touching him. You got another one?
A surprise bust this year. This is a player I traded for last year with you, actually.
Oh,
Mike Evans. So Mike Evans is Mr. Consistent. Last year, he hurt that hamstring, and it was a problem for like 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh my!
And I think at 31, with Chris Godwin coming off of just a catastrophic injury, you got a lot of mouths to feed. Baker's an amazing QB, arguably top 5 in the league last year. I just think this is where we start to see the downhill. 31, hamstring injuries, those can be just horrendous for older wide receivers. So I think we'll see some production. You might see some consistency, but you're not going to see big numbers like in past years.
I love and I hate your take because I drafted Mike Evans and I loved it. And he rode me through a lot of big weeks and he helped me win in another league. It just pains me to hear it, but I actually agree with you kind of. I've been doing some mocks and I won't touch him. You know, they drafted Ibuka. Listen, everybody's been sleeping on what's his name? McMillan.
Which
the guy?
Which one? Tampa Bay McMillan?
Yeah. Because there are 2 now, right?
Yeah.
Tetero and
the Panthers McMillan. That's a guy I think is going to break out.
Oh man,
and same with Bryce Young.
Yeah, but you got Bucky Irving. I mean, you do have a lot of mouths to feed. They just, I don't know. Godwin's back, I guess. So I just hope we're not going to see a mediocre Tampa. I love seeing that high-powered Tampa, but we'll see what happens. Every year, it's a new year. Okay, so I've got a hot bus take to end this out.
Okay.
That is really going to piss some people off.
We love it.
Justin Jefferson.
Oh.
Justin Jefferson. And it starts with the QB. You know, I was on the last episode with my brother-in-law, Yak, who made some phenomenal points for why McCarthy can do well. System quarterback. He's going to listen to what coach says, but he really hasn't played it all in the NFL. So is he going to go through this rookie growing pains that everybody goes through? You know, Jordan Addison, hopefully he's on the field, but if he's not, because he's locked up in prison or suspended, I don't know if it actually helps Justin Jefferson's case. You'd think he's going to get more targets, but now it's like, well, are people just going to make them run the ball? You know?
Oof. I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in JJ McCarthy. I'm sorry. He's coming off a bad injury, hasn't played a snap in the NFL, played at Michigan, where if you watch him at Michigan that last year, I mean, nothing impressive.
Yeah.
At all. It
seemed like he just kind of willed them to win.
I mean, that was just,
it didn't matter.
They were just the best team and they could run the ball every down and they could win. But this is the NFL. You got to throw the ball. And that's an offense designed to throw the ball a lot. We're going to see a lot of interceptions. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of touchdowns out of Jefferson this year.
Ooh. Well, to just round out a couple things, it's like he's a top 3 pick.
I think you have to draft him, but I'm not loving it.
So here's how I look at the numbers. If you draft Justin Jefferson at the 3rd pick, and he does, and he gets you 1,200 yards and let's say 5 or 6 touchdowns, you can find that guy in the 3rd and 4th round.
Yeah.
So why would you take that other than, okay, I just want a safe floor, but I don't even think it's a safe floor.
No.
And if JJ goes down again,
who's behind it?
I don't actually know. I probably should figure that out. But yeah, no, I just think there's a lot of question marks there. It's really comes down to if I'm at the 3 spot, I am not touching him. You know, if he slid to the back of the 1st round, then yeah, you're going to feel like you have to take that guy. But it's a bust for me with where he's being drafted.
I think the one guy that I would like to draft from the Vikings is Jordan Addison. I like the production towards the end of the season. It's a lot of targets. Great route runner.
You can throw a dart and let him sit on the bench.
I'm a big fan.
You got to throw darts to win fantasy championships.
That's the one guy in the Vikings I'll touch. And also Aaron Jones, absolutely not.
Not for the spot he's going.
No.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. All right, so we're going to pivot into segment 2. This is the Would You Rather segment. So I've got 2 names, guys that are going pretty close in draft position, but give me a reason why you take one guy over the other. So we're going to start Kyren Williams or Bucky Irving.
Kyren Williams, it's an easy pick. He's been in the NFL for a few years, and his team was just beat up the first half of the season. You had Puka and Cooper Kupp out for a while, and I drafted him. Then it worked out well. I got a lot of trade value out of him, and he was consistent.
Yes, you did get a lot of trade value.
Yeah,
you did.
like 20 points every game, a lot of red zone touches. So Bucky Irving came off a great season. Again, a lot of mouths to feed in Tampa Bay. It was his rookie year. Is this where we see that second-year slump? We don't really know. There's a lot of question marks, and he also splits touches. So
fair.
So I'm taking Kyren Williams every day of the week.
I totally agree with you. And before I give you some reasons why I like him, I'd like you to just tell the people that I'm not here to screw anybody when I'm trading with them. Because I've been receiving a lot of hate from everybody in the league saying I'm out here screwing people over, and it's garbage.
No,
and as a man who I traded with, I'd love it to come from the horse's
We had
mouth.
multiple, counter trades and whatnot before we got a trade done, but they were all fair. They were fair, and it wasn't taking advantage. People hated our trade, but
Dude, Chuba ended up being a freaking beast.
Exactly.
I'm mad.
It made sense for me. I needed a running back. I needed some receivers. And at the end of the day, it actually worked out for both of us. So,
well, it at least helped you save your dignity for the end of the season.
It did. It definitely did. There are people in this league that are far worse to trade with. And, I was in a tough spot. I had to go out and try something different.
You did. I commend you.
There's some people out there that they are just looking to screw you at every turn.
Yep. That's why you got to do your fantasy research.
Luke Jager.
So you know what's going on. All right. So anyways, back to Kyren or Bucky. Kyren, I totally agree with you. This dude was a volume king. He had 20+ touches in so many games last year, and he stays on the field. He's a relatively healthy back for not being as big as some of the other bruisers like Najee we see in the league. McVay loves his running backs. When I think back, think about Todd Gurley. Man disappeared off the earth, but dude, he ran it back a few years in LA with McVay. And the same thing is happening right now with Kyren. He's a goal line vulture. He had double-digit TDs last year. I just, they got Puka Nacua, they got Devontae Adams, and if they can just stay healthy, I just don't see why he can't be productive again.
No, I think he's going to have another big year this year.
I like that. All right, as we pivot on to the final one here, we got Bo Nix or Kyler Murray. Who you got?
I got Bo Nix. Bo Nix every time.
Yeah?
Last year, I think Bo Nix struggled the first 5 or 6 games, but then him and Cortland Sutton just lit it up the rest of the season. Bo Nix was a top 10 QB the second half of the year. The Denver Broncos look dangerous. They have a great defense. He's going to get the ball a lot. They're a tough team to score on. So, the time of possession is going to be huge for a second-year QB who's starting to figure it out in the NFL. I think Bo Nix going to have a big year.
I'm going to go the opposite route here, and I'm going to take Kyler Murray.
Okay.
I have him extremely close. When I think about it, Kyler has so many weapons. He's got Trey McBride, James Conner, and I think we're about to see Marvin Harrison Jr. bring out the skills just like his father used to dish out. As a former Colts fanatic, Marvin Harrison was an absolute beast in his prime, and that man, Marvin Harrison Jr., has those genes, and I think he's bulked up. I think he's ready to take on that role as wide receiver 1. Kyler has wheels on the ground. They couldn't finish games last year. They left so much meat on the bone from last year. And Bo Nix, he's got Cortland Sutton. They brought in, J.K. Dobbins, and I do think that's an upgrade compared to what they have. But the biggest thing is Cam Bonick's rush, like he did last year. He was a top 5 rushing quarterback last year, which is insane. But he picked up so many fantasy points on the ground. I'm not sure he can do it again.
I'm just thinking last year he had no run game.
That's so true.
He had a wide receiver 1 that many didn't even consider to be a true wide receiver 1. And then the rest of them are people you never heard of in your life. And he still put up numbers. So I think adding J.K. Dobbins to that mix where they're going to be able to run the ball, at least they should be. And with that defense, time of possession, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more. And they seem to have that connection now.
Yeah.
I'm believing the Denver Broncos to have a much better season this year.
Wow. I love it. All right, we're pivoting into the last segment here. We're going to do spin the cheese wheel. Yes, give me a good spin here.
All right.
What's it say?
Name one
league villain. Or sorry.
No, name one player you might draft that makes no sense.
Oh, this is perfect for you.
I'm going to go with a QB. And while I'm not a believer in J.J. McCarthy, there's another young QB that I think's due for a breakout year.
Yeah.
We saw little bits and pieces of it towards the end of the season. That's Drake May.
Wow.
I think you'll get him. I can get him late, be a great backup QB. If not, I mean, towards the middle of the season, if my QB1 isn't playing so hot, I'll start Drake May. Towards the end of the year last year, I had him. I picked him up off the waiver wire.
Mm-hmm.
He had a few games, 25 plus. That's great value on a QB. So I'm sticking by. And they added a weapon this year. They added Stephon Diggs, coming off an injury though. But I mean, last year Drake May had a wide receiver 1, Demario Douglas.
Yeah,
that had 600 something yards on the season. I mean, you're talking about a guy without weapons.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots last year had no weapons. They had Ramondre Stevenson that fumbled.
But now they have a coach too.
That's true.
They got Vrabel, so hopefully he can do something.
And they drafted a running back from Ohio State, Travion Henderson. So
yeah,
I think
there's promise.
There's a lot of promise. I think a lot of upside there, and you can get it for good value.
I like it. So my guy that I may throw a dart at towards the end of the draft is it's a guy who used to rule the roost. He was a guy year after year after year was a top running back. He's old now, and he is in the second spot for this team, but he's a receiving back. And if anything happens to the starter, he's getting launched in, and dude, he's going to PPR his way to value, and that's Austin Eckler.
Ooh.
I like Eckler as a great late dart throw. Brian Robinson Jr. is in a contract year. I do think he's going to try and ball out. But there's a whole bunch of swirling around with Terry McLaurin and his contract as of today on July 1st. Nothing is done. He wants a lot of money. He's getting older. They're going to have to find ways to be creative in that offense. So I think I'm willing to throw something out there. He helped me win a championship quite a few years ago, and I like it. I didn't get him on any roster last year, and it kind of made me mad. So it doesn't all make sense, but it makes enough sense to me.
I think it's a good sleeper pick. The Washington Commanders, as an Eagles fan, I can't stand them. Not as much as the Cowboys, but still. However, last year he was consistent, even with Brian Robinson starting. He was getting like 8-9 fantasy points a game. So
he's a great flex.
The PPR with him being used out of the backfield, it could.
I understand trying to draft your competition. I've had to learn not. I try and stay away from Colts guys if I can, because it's just too close to home. I have too much bias, so I got to remove myself. But that's it for us here at the Fantasy Rat, where the takes are stinky, the trophies are shiny. Spin the cheese wheel, set your lineup, and stay ratty.